Hello everyone and welcome to a brand new episode of the Sports Insight with your host Alamdar Khan. And as you know, we give you sports information from all across the globe. You guys can surely reach out to us on our social media handle, which is at the rate of Indus News Sports. That works both for Twitter and for Instagram. But anyways, we'll go to the headlines first. And yes, Pakistan versus England. The second T20, England manages to win against Pakistan by 45 runs. And yes, from the world of golf, we talk about the British Open. Colin Morikawa managed to win and hold off Jordan Spieth and managed to win that opening debut. And yes, talking about Tokyo Olympics, 3 athletes and 1 IOC member tested positive for COVID-19. And yes, talking about the Formula One, Lewis Hamilton receives online racist abuse after the British Open win. And yes, so those were the headlines and talking about interesting phenomena and things that are really happening, starting with cricket. Yes, we talk about Pakistan versus England. Pakistan versus England has been a tricky journey for us. 0-3, we talk about the ODIs. We lost 3 of the ODIs. Then we managed to come up to the T20 where the actual squad for the England team is there. And Pakistan, flares everything up like the best team ever. And then comes the second T20, which they managed to lose. But to discuss the in-depth analysis of the inconsistency and how things are going for the country and for the nation, we have with us Tasneem Samar Khan all the way from New Zealand. Tasneem, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me.
Great. So Tasneem, talking about the second T20. The first T20, what about the T20? What a performance from the batting lineup to the bowling lineup to the fielding lineup. And then comes the second T20. What's your take on the second T20 where Pakistan managed to lose against England? Obviously, England managed to score 200. Pakistan managed to score 155 for 9. So what's your take on how do you see things going further ahead for Pakistan to begin with?
I don't think it's quite the roller coaster that we should worry it being. The first T20 was an exceptional performance from Pakistan, but it's really vital to remember that England is the best white ball team that we have in front of us.
Right.
They are playing a format that they have established so well, and they've pushed further than other countries. Pakistan is a very competent T20 squad.
Right.
However, they're playing a brand of T20 cricket that's a little bit older than what England are currently doing. I'm sure viewers who won't be so familiar with some of the domestic players from England will have gotten to see the likes of Lewis Gregory and understand that there's a lot of depth around the English squad as it is. So
Right.
that domestic feeding system that there is in England is so exceptional. I don't think that Pakistan should worry about it. The concern that I would have if I were a part of the Pakistan camp is the issue of setting a target versus chasing a target. So the first T20 match, which was such a pleasure to watch, was obviously target setting, a little bit different concept. Pakistan had strength and confidence, and
Right.
they were able to utilize their method of build a base and then
Right.
accelerate. It was also one of the T20 grounds in which it's a little bit easier to do that. I think the UAE, looking forward to the World Cup, will be a little bit different. So Pakistan is going to have to gain some competency in going at a strong run rate from the get-go, and then also being able to competently chase down a target. I think there's a few reasons that Pakistan are struggling with that, but we'll see them unfold in the last game.
Right, and talking about chase, I think yes, one of the major issues for Pakistan itself is chasing a target. But yes, setting up a target, and as you mentioned, when we look into how things are going to be in the future for World Cup, the one of the major edge for Pakistan is obviously the terrain, the situation, the atmosphere. We just finished up, our PSL, and I think a lot of people from Asia, all the teams are easily, they know how to play there. But right now, obviously, it's a totally different situation in terms of, the atmosphere, the field, the pitch, and all that jazz all around. But but right now, we want to talk about the bird in hand. What's your prediction in terms of Pakistan's pursuit for, at least one more victory against England so that they can be at peace and we can be at peace?
I think Pakistan cricket fans being at peace is something that's never really supposed to happen, if we're completely honest. Like we've both been following this team for multiple decades and it's not getting any better. I think that Pakistan will come back really strong for the final T20. This is the format they know themselves to be the strongest in. This is the format in which they have the most confidence and self belief in as well. And that's why we saw some of those performances in the first T20. I'm sure people will have noticed a stark difference between the Shadab Khan that was bowling in the ODIs and the Shadab Khan who's been bowling in the last two T20s. A little bit of confidence, a spring in his step from some phenomenal fielding. And a lot of that has to do with playing a format that you feel more competent in. So Pakistan's going to come back absolutely strong. The toss is going to be really important because it's not often that England win a toss and then decide to bat, decide to showcase just how superfluous their batting lineup really is and what a struggle it is for everyone. I saw so many opinions the other day about, or concerns from Pakistan fans about Chris Jordan's capacity to hit the ball. And that's England's truth in this white ball era. That's most teams' truth, is that they really do have hitters all the way down to number 10 and number 11. This is going to probably be the undoing of Pakistan. And I think Pakistan fans have known this for a while, that our lack of big hitters is a little bit of an issue. And our lack of men who go at a very high strike rate is a bit of an issue. I think if Pakistan comes undone in the third T20, it's probably a 50-50 chance. They're both exceptional sides. It's largely going to be because of their relative incapacity compared to England in order to go at a very high strike rate.
Right. And if we look into, if Pakistan managed to perform the way they did for the first T20, I think that is probably the only formula that we can actually win the third T20. But if we look back into the first T20, the way we batted, the way we bowled, and the way we fielded, it was out of this world. So what truly happens that, automatically there's a switch that turns on, and then that's the same switch that actually turns off for all three formats?
I think the reality is the teams where you see them consistently being able to do this, it's because of the professionalism. It starts young and it starts early in the domestic careers, and it just keeps going, keeps going. We just watched this with England. They had an ODI squad of largely uncapped players.
Right.
And I think with one exception, there was no part of their body language or their faces or the way that they held themselves that made them look or feel uncapped, like that they were out of their depth in international cricket. And that is that feeding system that you have into the international game. So it's all well and good to talk about how mercurial Pakistan can sometimes be, how when things work, their batting is great, their fielding is phenomenal, their bowling has always been, what Pakistan fans have been there for, really. But unless we get that professionalism instituted within our domestic structures and systems, it's a very long-term goal, long-term type of thinking. You're not going to have that fluency in all three formats. Another thing to remember is that Pakistan does not play the three formats equitably. There are very few teams who do. England is probably the rare example of an equal distribution between the three formats. Pakistan doesn't have it. We play more T20s than anything else, and it's probably why we're better at T20s than we are at the other formats. And this is the reality of a game. You can be as talented as you like. You can have as much josh, as much passion as possible. But if you do not have the practice, if you don't have those structures, then you're going to see what we see with Pakistan, which is inconsistency.
Right. So I think we still need to practice, and we still need to ensure our minds are clear when we come up there to perform. And yes, probably T20 is the only format that, we still manage to perform well. And once we perform well in one, for instance, we perform well in terms of batting, then we're bowling well as well and fielding well as well. But in one match, we batted so well. I'm talking about the third ODI. We were phenomenal. And we were expecting to win that. And obviously, it was a very nail-biting match, and we all loved it. It's absolutely fine on losing on such an occasion where we're struggling, we're fighting. But the first two ODIs, we were not, there was no body language, there was no consistency, there was no batting, there was no bowling. But our bowling crashed and the fielding crashed in the third ODI. So what exactly happened back there then?
I honestly do not think that majority of teams have their energy, their interest, or their attention in ODI cricket right now. You've got a World Cup so soon. and everybody's energy and attention and focuses on that, we have to not fail to remember how important winning tournaments is to countries in terms of the revenue that it brings,
Right.
the capacity that it brings to feed back into your structure. So if you are a cricketing nation that is struggling to compete with other cricketing nations, your best bet is win a tournament, win a cash prize, and see what you can do with that. So I think everybody's energy and attention is there. It's not an excuse. I think it's just very human to have other focuses. With England, on the other hand, they have people who are playing for their careers. They had a whole squad made up of players who have been left out repeatedly for years and years, a number of years, because they have such exceptional white ball players. So with people like Saqib Mahmood, who are really trying to showcase the England selectors, and the ECB, let them know that we're ready to take control of the game. We're ready to be regularly capped England players. I think that drive is just a greater motivator, and that's what we saw from England. So with Pakistan, the body language thing, you know, it matters, but it's not the only thing that matters. There's no player in the world that goes onto a pitch thinking, yeah, I'm looking to lose today.
Right.
Everybody's always trying to win, but being able to stay hyped, to give it your all, and to continue that momentum. This is really where Pakistan struggle. It's not the psychology, it's the loss of momentum. When another team takes momentum from them, Pakistan get on the back foot, they become defensive, and we retreat into a outdated model of white ball cricket that I mean, I haven't seen since I was a kid. And that's exactly where we go to. That's where our comfort is. I don't think we're going to see very many different results, or at least not a world-dominating type of result like we had in our T20 structures a few years ago, like England have in white ball cricket now, until we modernize our own outlook on T20 cricket. I see a lot of very intelligent cricket administrators talking about T20 like people did in 2009. The game has changed and evolved so much, and unless we're evolving with it, we're going to see results that are not really what we want to be seeing.
Right. I would also want to talk and have a quick word on you with regards to obviously the England team as well, and specifically talking about the team. Obviously, they're like spot on in terms of their performance. I would want to talk about Moeen Ali, obviously, who managed to be the player of the match as well. So what's your take on the overall team in terms of England, even right now, and the team that actually played the ODIs with us?
I think that ODI team is something that any country in the world, probably including India, would beg for. And that is a second 11, third 11 squad that can beat genuinely competitive world teams. So I did not look at the ODI results as a situation of, oh my God, Pakistan is so bad, they can't beat a second 11.
Right.
It's a case of England's second 11 is so good that
Right.
everybody else in the world is playing catch up. In terms of T20 cricket, this is England's tournament to lose. Their T20 strength has been, it's been going on for a number of years, and the very, very intelligent thing that the English cricketers have done for a number of years, before David Milan was capped for England, before Liam Livingstone was playing for England, these guys were all playing at the PSL. It's not just the PSL itself, it's gaining experience all over the world in various T20 leagues,
Right.
with a variety of different bowlers, different batsmen. Liam Livingstone has faced so many bowlers going at the pace of these Pakistanis, usually Pakistanis actually, that his comfort levels with pace are off the charts. He is one of the most exceptional T20 batsmen at the moment in terms of pace. So
Right.
it's a team that's real together, very ready. Their only potential downfall would be how some of the batsmen play spin,
Right.
particularly considering the fact that the UAE is going to be very spin heavy,
Right.
or spin friendly rather. So I would think that David Milan would probably be a little bit concerned about his own place,
Well,
particularly
Tasneem,
with somebody like
all
Nick
I would
Livingstone.
suggest right now is I would want to thank you for being a part of the show. Obviously, we have a format time. But anyways, we'll surely talk to you once we finish up with the 30-20, hoping that, Pakistan managed to win. Once again, thank you for being a part of the show.
Thank you.
So that was the team, and yes, she managed to bring in a bit of update in our heads in terms of how Pakistan versus England will flow and what we need to do in terms of a team. But anyways, guys, we'll take a quick break. Once we get back from the break, there's more coming in from the world of sports. See you guys after the break. And yes, welcome back from the break. And before the break, we were discussing the world of cricket, but not to forget another major tournament coming up to an end. Yes, we're talking about the British Open 2021. And what a tournament, talking about Colin Morikawa, who managed to win the tournament. What a superb performance. And not only him, talking about the number 2, Jordan Spieth was also, and John Ram, followed up by Ostuzian, who was actually leading in the tournament at the very start, but obviously it was a tough time for him at the very, very last moments even then. But, a major turn of events for him. But anyways, we want to discuss more in-depth analysis. So we have with us Mr. Keel. Keel, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me.
Great. So Keel, would want to talk about how Colin Morikawa is the first player to win 2 major at the first attempts to begin with. Many congratulations to him. So how do you see this entire tournament developing, and what exactly do you see in terms of the future of Colin Morikawa to begin with?
Well, Colin Morikawa's future is basically unlimited. He is tee to green, probably one of the best, most consistent players. His iron game is fantastic. Which is really important in something like the Open, where you have to hit your spots and know and hope the ball is going to go where you think it's going to go. And if you miss your spots, you won't be playing very well. And he played fantastic. And he's a unique talent, as young as he is, to have won his first 2 majors and his first 2 starts in those majors. And he joins Tiger Woods as the only player to win both the PGA Championship and the Open under the age of 25.
Right. And right now, obviously, Morikawa is at the age of 24. He was born on 6th February 1997. So I think he definitely does have a beautiful future ahead. We so want to learn and see more, because obviously the wisdom that he carries, with the energy, with the talent that he has, I think sky's the limit for him.
Indeed. And he seems like, I haven't interacted with him personally yet, but he seems like an extremely personable and very nice young man who's even-keeled, and that helps a lot.
Right, and in terms of, if we look at his pictures, we always see that amazing smile. And I think smile would surely carry a long way for him, because it's more like an attitude that you carry on with you when you're playing the world of golf. And not only that, I think even in terms of sports, you need to be at a very strong position in terms of accepting those tough times. But I think that's something which probably would surely be at some point the key to being consistent and being out there and hoping for the best.
I agree completely. His post-round, the award ceremony and his post-round interviews suggested that he was very grateful for everyone in his team, his caddy. He got the crowd to sing happy birthday to him at the award ceremony. It was very, very nice indeed. He accepted all the praise, but he also shared it with everyone in his group.
Right. And talking about bigger names, I would also want to talk about Jordan Spieth. He was pretty close by to Jordan Spieth, and not only him, obviously, John Ram, who won the last event, obviously after being disregarded from the Memorial, but John Ram also managed to win a major. So he was pretty close by, and so was Jordan Spieth. But I think in terms of the conviction and the dedication, I think both of them were close, but obviously they could not, get there to win against Colin Morikawa.
Yes, Jordan Spieth was, aside from the last 2 holes on Saturday, I think very pleased with his play all the way around. He missed a couple of relatively short putts, and for him, he's arguably the best putter on tour most consistently. He missed a couple of putts, and that did him in. So aside from those 2 holes, I think he was very pleased with his play. I think he is indeed back. And it's just a matter of time before he's consistently threatening and even winning more majors.
Right. And talking about, let's talk about Ostuzian. Obviously, Louis was also at the start. He was trying to get there. He was trying to get his momentum, but ended up obviously not managing. He finished under 11, but he could not manage to get there. So where exactly was the point when he kind of lost track, or was there a specific moment in those days or at a specific hole that he kind of lost track of his direction to lead the entire charts?
Well, he had that kind of, well, it's hard to say with Louis. He's got the best swing, arguably, on tour. I mean, it's repeatable, it's beautiful.
Right.
And every now and then one gets a little loose, however, and was it the 15th or 12th hole where he went bunker to bunker and then hit one out of a bunker and over the green, and that really kind of did him in. and then his putting. When he misses a couple of putts, it kind of percolates into the rest of his game, and he pushes a little harder than I think normally his relaxed attitude would cause him to, and then unfortunately it went sideways for him.
Well, let's hope things develop better for him. And as you said that, it's not easy in terms of, I think maybe as you mentioned, maybe the putts, in terms of consistency for a golfer, I think that's very important. But talking about consistency, we talk about world number one, we talk about Dustin Johnson. So where do we see Dustin Johnson's journey ahead? Because I think he finished 7 under, but we don't really see him getting to the direction in which he was before.
Yeah, I mean he's not playing badly. He's seems to have a few lapses here and there where he's either makes a decision that is questionable or kind of checks out for a swing or two or a putt or two,
right?
And then that puts him behind the 8 ball, and he's right there, but he doesn't quite stay on hitting on all cylinders on every shot sometimes.
Right, but because all out there, because I think he's struggling too much to get a major, because it's been a while in terms of him getting a major. Not that he's not playing in terms of the best of performance, but he's still not putting his best, or maybe he's not, the best is yet not coming out. And I think if it continues like this, he may end up losing his position as world number one.
It's possible. Yeah, it's possible. There's a lot of great players out there. John Rahm, and Bryson DeChambeau is going through some personal issues right now, but once he gets those things ironed out, there's a lot of competition. Colin Morikawa, there's a lot of competition out there for world number one. This is one of the strongest kind of top flight fields that the tour has had in many years, I think.
Right, and being the world number one is one thing, but maintaining the world number one is, I think, one of the most difficult things. So I think he probably needs to work more on that. And to be very honest, I am looking forward in terms of maybe Jon Rahm for like an amazing future ahead, because of if we look back into his legacy, if we look back into how he managed to make a comeback on the major after, when he was asked to be off the memorial due to COVID-19. So, I think he's also in the right direction. So we also find or see trajectory. So the trajectory for Jordan Spieth or Jon Rahm, and even Louis, and obviously definitely Colin Morikawa, but we do not see the trajectory going in that direction for Dustin Johnson as yet lately.
Yeah, he's going to need to sharpen his game to keep up to keep ahead of all those guys. You're absolutely right. I think that Jon Rahm especially, we're going to see him for many years to come as well. He's also, his swing is unique to him, and he knows exactly what it does, and he knows exactly what he can do with it, and he can do an awful lot with it. And he's also shown fabulous streaks of putting as well. So he's kind of the next obvious choice to move into the number one. I think he and Colin Morikawa are going to be duking it out for many years to come.
Well, absolutely, Keel. Thank you very much for your in-depth analysis from the world of golf. It was a pleasure having you.
My pleasure.
So that was Keel, and Keel mentioned and discussed the world of British Open, and obviously discussed the big names when we talk about obviously the British Open, and it finally came up to an end where Colin Morikawa managed to win at the Royal St. George Golf Course. And I think it's going to be a super legacy in terms of him, because he's won two majors in the first attempt. So we wish him the very best in the future, and obviously all the golfers who have been struggling to get where they want to be. Anyways, we want to talk about Tokyo Olympics. Yes, that's a major event that's underway. That's like the event has been trying to shape up, and slowly and gradually things will shape up for them by the 23rd. But the problem is that the COVID-19 situation is still very tough. Talking about that, 3 athletes and 1 IOC member has been tested positive for COVID-19. And talking about the IOC member, the member's name is Ru Seung-mun, and he managed to have that. And the point is, he's been a table tennis champion, and he's been representing Olympics. He represented back Olympics in 2004. But the point is, now even the management is understanding the amount of risk involved in terms of the COVID-19 situation. And not to forget that the Delta variant is still out, but we surely don't know which direction is it heading, because they still are looking forward to open on the 23rd of July, because they want this event to happen. But let's see I still think the state of emergency situation is still there, and I think they will surely be having a lot of restrictions for players, not only for the players, but obviously for the audiences as well. So that was the update in terms of the Tokyo Olympics. A quick word on Formula One. Yes, we talk about Lewis Hamilton receives an online racist abuse after the British GP win. In terms of racism, I think sports has come up to a point that people winning, but the point is people were posting a lot of emojis in terms of and trying to bully him. The point is you just cannot do that, in my opinion, and I think a lot of people's opinion. This is surely not the way to respect someone who's managed to win, major event. And not only that, I think to anybody, and this is now slowly and gradually becoming, legacy or a repetitive thing in the world of social media. And not to forget, such situation in the world of social media definitely leads up to mental abuse. And when it comes to mental abuse, people go through the mental health issues. So I would definitely not want anyone to do that. And if we look back into Euro 2020 final, when it was specifically we talk about England, their three players who actually managed to not score eventually got a lot of racial abuse, and for that there were a lot of messages on the social media. So I think one of the major things is that we need to avoid such circumstances to be created to ensure the health of not only these players but for everybody else. Anyways, guys, this is pretty much from the world of sports. You guys can surely reach out to our social media handle, which is @Indus News Sports. That works both for Twitter and for Instagram. Till then, take good care of yourselves. Bye bye.